Hey everyone, welcome back to CryptoCache. Thank you so much for joining me here. Hope you're having a fantastic day. We're taking another look here at Bitcoin, helping you understand the best practice and big picture for this coin. What we're going to do is we're going to take a quick look at a small handful of things. First and foremost, of course, traditional markets, kind of see where that shapes up. And then obviously as well, we want to look at Bitcoin dominance and kind of see how alts are doing. Again, that's relevant in the big picture here. So again, some stuff that I think is important to recognize, but mostly just kind of see where the Fibonacci retracement levels are stacking up as well. So if you're new to the channel, just know I'm not a financial advisor, love teaching people to trade. Hope you can learn something here today. If you want to become a better trader, CryptoCache.tech is a site. Link down below. We're partnered with Bitget and ExpressVPN, where we offer very significant benefits to our community members. So be sure to check that out. Link in the description below. Use the link for Bitget. Feel free to register, of course, using that link because you'll qualify for a $10,000 prize pool monthly. And of course, I think there's a sign-on bonus as well. Phenomenal exchange and fantastic VPN. You'll need both of these to be very successful. Most of our traders are using that. So be sure to check that out in your own time. So here's the thing with Bitcoin. Simply put, we can see we're kind of struggling here right at this 16,600 range. Okay, so we failed to close, well, so far today, we're tentatively below it, and we may not close above it. Okay, so if we do close below, that could imply we could see further downside. But once again, we got to recognize too with this candle wick here, this is actually basically a bullish type of candle in that sense because it wicked all the way down, and if it can close close to what's open here today, that's a positive sign. Okay, so it shows that in the last 24 hours, the bears have been unsuccessful to be able to get past that level. So it's still early to tell, but I would say if we close above 16.6 today, we'll be in pretty decent shape to see a slow incline throughout the weekend. Just keep in mind, holidays are always funky with trading. This whole week is always going to be just kind of a bunch of nothing. Okay, so we've seen that in the last 2 weeks, makes sense, but first of the year, we can expect a lot more volatility. Very common to see that. But we are down below 50 on the RSI, nothing has changed there, and we're also still diverging here, bearishly, but it's not a strong divergence, so I wouldn't read into it. Okay. Furthermore, too, we are also still below all moving averages. So if you see here, of course, the 50 and the 20 still working above the price action, kind of concurrent in a lot of ways with this descending trend. So until we break above this descending trend here, I don't think we should expect tremendous amount of benefit from Bitcoin, if you will, because it's really just not going anywhere. So to touch on a couple of things here really quick, I said it would be good to look at the traditional markets because regular markets they're not doing terrible today because yesterday was a nice green day, but they're still descending, okay? We can see this very strong lower Fibonacci retracement level, which I've looked at previously, but what I'm getting at here is that this 9 here on TD sequential is really telling us that we are actually progressing down. There's a good chance we might see a recovery from the traditional markets, at least to this halfway point here at about 11,375. So hypothetically, the price comes up here and continues lower. If it were to, we'll figure it out later, but we should experience some kind of uptrend here soon from the regular markets. That should translate positively to Bitcoin. Okay, so there's that. In addition to the fact that Bitcoin dominance is also hitting, a certain resistance level and has had trouble getting above this 42% range. And what that basically just implies here is that Bitcoin dominance being higher implies that altcoins are effectively going to be lower. Okay, so what we want is ideally Bitcoin dominance to come down so alts can start to recover, but also allow for the price action to go sideways. It's kind of a tricky thing the way that Bitcoin dominance works, so I wouldn't read too much into that one either, but generally speaking, when Bitcoin dominance goes up, alts tend to suffer, which we're seeing right now. Majority of altcoins right now are either break even or significantly red. Big surprise, FTT is down. All right, so anyways, just something to kind of think about. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at some regular stuff here. We already looked at the daily. Let's look at the 4 hour and kind of see what's going on and kind of go from there. So 4 hour really just kind of tells us that we're below all moving averages. Still the same narrative there, not much has changed. So we're still descending bearishly. We are finding lower lows and lower highs so far. Okay, so until that trend breaks, we should expect it to continue. And that being said, just so you know, the trend reversal when you're seeing lower highs and lower lows, you want to look for is higher lows. Not higher highs, higher lows. Higher lows are the most important thing to identify a trend reversal. So we need to have higher lows starting to occur, even if the most recent high or just say, this high here isn't broken, that's perfectly fine because that's essentially allowing us to have an ascending type of trend that typically breaks out to the upside. So we're looking for scenarios like that where we can see a trend reversal and we don't have that yet. So to me, looking at the 4 hour, not seeing higher lows yet, we're not quite out of the woods. We want to make sure to establish a higher high here, preferably, but this next low has to be higher than the previous low, okay? So it has to be right there in that range. So again, that's where a closure today above 16.6 would be very helpful. Is it going to spell a green weekend? Not necessarily, but it does give us better chances, better odds of success throughout the weekend to see more bullish behavior. Furthermore, too, we did wick down pretty significantly here where we kind of bounced off of 30 on the RSI as well. We could be rejecting at 16.6 here potentially as a resistance, but it's too early to tell once more. Again, wait for confirmation, wait for today's candlestick to close. We've got another 6 or 7 hours before we see that. So I would just say be patient between now and then to wait for some kind of confirmation. And again, confirmation comes in many different ways. You could see a confirmation with a convergence on the MACD, which we did kind of have recently, but didn't break all the way through. That's why confirmation is important. We can also see confirmation too as well with a closure above 16.6. So to me, closure above 16.6, the 4-hour MACD converging, and potentially breaking through 50 on the RSI here would be 3 things I want to look for. So that's roughly where we're at in the 4-hour. It's still mostly bearish, okay? But again, it has potential to reverse itself. We just got to kind of see where we're at. So looking at the 1 hour, let's take a quick peek at the TD sequential here. We can see we hit a 9, of course, and it continued lower, bounced off this pretty significantly low candle wick down to 16,300. So in that sense, we're not in dire straits by any stretch, but it's definitely trying to hold and maintain a price point. This candle wick being as large as it is tells me that we have some kind of support right in the range of 16.4. Again, it's a tentative support, absolutely, but it's the support nonetheless. So that being said, we hit 1 9 TD sequential. There can absolutely be multiple 9s on there. In fact, I've had one of my community members ask me recently, how does it work with TD sequential and the 9s and the importance of it? In other words, what's the most important time frame to use TD sequential? I use it on the 1 more exclusively, but it's important to recognize that on the 4-hour and the 1 day, it's equally as important, if not stronger. Because again, the larger the time frame you go, the more impactful that reversal will become. So in that sense here, if you see a 9 here previously and it kind of goes sideways, comes up to an 8 and then down to another 9, those are just kind of telling you little short-term trend reversals, okay? They're not as impactful. If you see that on the 4-hour, however, it usually spells some type of reversal. And we can see it here. We came down to a 9 and it did reverse itself to an extent, albeit not very strong. That's normal, of course, considering the circumstances. But generally speaking, we came down to a 9 here and the price turned itself around, at least within reason, okay? So again, on a 4-hour time frame, you see a 9. The likelihood of it turning itself around is larger because we're 36 hours of continuation of the downside in that time frame. So what's more strong? The stronger, something that lasts a lot longer or something that's shorter term. 9 hours versus 36. Those things are kind of just things you kind of want to look at. So to me, 4-hour is more impactful. So hopefully that helped clarify that question for you. Furthermore, let's go ahead and take a look at Ichimoku cloud. We can probably confirm that we're below the cloud, which we are. So there's that resistance level at 16.6, kind of reaffirming itself. So that could imply that we are still stuck below that, which is exactly the reason why we wait for a closure above 16.6, preferably even 16.7 if possible, but that's asking a little bit. In other words, right here we got this Fibonacci retracement level. The price continues higher. Just say it closes in this range here today. We'd be in pretty decent shape to have a long position to the upside. Again, tight profit targets, of course, that's how the market is right now. You cannot get super greedy, but generally speaking, that's what you're looking for. Conversion line is below the baseline, tells us the momentum to the downside is still continuing, and lagging span technically is free and clear of price action. So again, a closure above this level would put the lagging span in the price range, and that would put us in a situation where we'd have confirmation that we have a long position is more viable. Okay. Again, I prefer to wait a few hours with the price above the cloud. So preferably to say a closure today around 16,640 would be preferable. But again, beggars can't be choosers, as they say, right? So that's kind of where we're at. Well, the common narrative here is to wait for confirmation. I think I've reaffirmed that a few times, and to make sure that you understand that we're still progressing bearishly here. We are still establishing lower lows and effectively lower highs. So until those little things continue to shift, we are not going to see any type of reversal, so to speak. So what we're going to look for is higher lows to continuously be progressing upwards and to effectively give us that potential push through this descending trend. Okay, so again, we want to try to break through this trend line here. So the price continues to progress like this. We're going to be in much better shape there, of course, for the price to continue higher. But until we get above that level, we cannot really expect too much from Bitcoin at this point, except for it to continue lower. But keep this in mind, I'm not telling you to short at this point. I'm just saying that we are approaching a resistance level. If we can't close above 16.6, there's a decent chance we might see further downside this weekend. Something to consider, okay? So again, I would just say be patient, hope for the best, and expect the worst, and we'll figure it out. All right, thanks again for joining me here. Again, if you're not currently a community member, definitely join up. We've got some amazing community members here that are just really, really killing it. I mean, take a look at this here. Jimmy with a nice long 30x for a good 30%. This guy, Joel, is killing it. He's been a member for a very long time, so thanks again for just being an awesome part of the community there, Joel, and Alexandra, of course, one of my admins. Fantastic trader. So these are all people you get to interact with and work with if you decide you want to become a member. And I do recommend joining before year end, or more so before the end of January, because we do have a new website rolling out with a lot of excellent features, and the pricing will be adjusting upwards based on demand. So in that sense, it is best to lock in your rate, because if you do join between now and then, you'll be grandfathered in. You'll keep the same rate as long as you stay. Okay, so just keep that in mind. All right, thanks again for joining me here. I hope you have a good rest of your day and a wonderful weekend. We'll see you in the next one. Take care.